Hello and welcome to the new video. Today we're going to take a look at the top 10 best fun teams for the Open Great League. As we're going to have the interlude season currently around, I felt like there was no real point currently to make like a top climbing teams or anything like this. I want to have like some teams here that are fun to play because that's currently what it's all about. And so if you want to see more of like this type of content, if you want to see more fun teams, and if you enjoy that kind of video, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. It would be the best way of showcasing that. But yeah, today we're going to have 10 teams that I personally feel like at least in certain stages, going to be fun to play, and more around Pokemon that I personally like to play with, or that are gonna at least get your battles done fast, this kind of stuff. So let's move on to the first team. Where we're going to have Toucannon. This is currently my favorite closer in the current meta. Toucannon is, in my opinion, one of the strongest Pokemon in the Go Battle League currently. I think this Pokemon is absolutely fantastic. I think this Pokemon is nearly even underrated still because on how much damage this Pokemon can actually do, especially as a Shadow version here with Beak Blast now on this move, like on this Pokemon as a moveset. It's crazy. Like, it's honestly crazy. I love Toucannon. This Pokemon is currently most like my favorite Pokemon to run, just because of the potential of even knocking out Pokemon that resist your Beak Blast, and as it's a Bastiodon, it's kind of wild. And of course, this team is designed to bait out Bastiodon. We have the Gastron on the lead as our main answer for this Pokemon. Then we have the Scizor of Corviknight, which is going to be able to also just kind of function as a bait for the Bastion while still punishing it with the Sand Tech plus Payback. And so this is the thing. Here we're going to have the Toucannon as our closer. This thing is just amazing. I made a video towards this team already. It's fun. Like, it's so much fun. Toucannon is absolutely fantastic. This Pokemon is broken. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this thing is just something that I would really recommend you to build if you didn't have that one yet. You need an Elite Gem for the Beak Blast, but in my opinion, it's absolutely worth it. I think this Pokemon is crazy. It's honestly crazy. There's no really difficult matchup for this team against everything you have some play. So, yeah, like, Toucannon. Absolutely insane Pokemon. Next up, we're going to have Greninja, which is one of my favorite Pokemon to run, as well as we have also, especially the Doublade here. This team can be a little bit weak to some ground-type Pokemon. Yes, you're going to have access to, with Greninja, to a Pokemon that hits ground types with super effective damage, but this kind of changes a little bit with, yeah, the Pokemon here that we have as a Scizor there. The Scizor is, for example, a little bit weak to ground types. And then if you have like a Pokemon that is like a Gastron or like a Stunfisk, which either can take only neutral damage from water type damage or just like super effective damage against you, that all kind goes a bit funny. And so here there is, of course, the solution of going for something different as a Scizor. Then you don't have two Pokemon weak to ground in the back. You could go for something like Corviknight, which has super effective coverage still against Stunfisk, even though it's still a very bad matchup. But it's going to be better against something like the Gastron here. Stuff like this would work out quite well. I like Doublade though, that's why I kind of wanted to use it there. But you can even run something like the, the Scizor of the Corviknight and then have the Doublade as your closer. That would work out as well. But again, then you're going to be a little bit weaker to electric type Pokemon. So just generally speaking, Greninja is a very solid Pokemon here. I like this Pokemon a lot. There are other teams around Greninja as well that you can use. For example, Greninja double poison, like the Scizor of Drapion and the Clodsire in the back. They all should work out quite well for yourself. And that's a team around Greninja, a Pokemon that I enjoy quite a lot, and I think it's a cool Pokemon to run. I feel like Zapdos is kind of running a little bit under the radar. I think this Pokemon is something I really want to showcase soonish as well. But why? Because Zapdos got access to, like, has access to Drill Peck. Drill Peck got buffed recently, I think the season prior. And with that, Zapdos is just a Pokemon that got a bit of a buff again that I think it's going to be kind of using quite well in this meta. And it looks kind of bad on paper, don't get me wrong, but this is the 0 to 1 shit scenario. If you go to the 2 shit scenario, all of a sudden things are going to be a little bit different for this Pokemon. It's going to be way stronger. And I didn't actually really see a Pokemon that I felt like was actually a weakness for this team. Even though there's some Pokemon that have all, by the way, for the people who don't know what they're looking at right now, there are always some of them. Blue means that you lose, red or like purple means that you win those matchups. For example, here, the Corviknight gets destroyed by Zapdos. Makes sense, you have an electric type Pokemon against a Pokemon that's weak to electric type Pokemon. But generally speaking, I do think that this team itself has a lot of potential. I think it's going to be very cool. And by the way, an alternative that I would be looking into as well, if you don't have the Licky as your Scizor, a bit of a cheaper one as well, would be actually Dunsparce, because I feel like the Drill Run coverage could help you out as well against Pokemon like Bastiodon, which would be an interesting one. So yeah, generally speaking, I think this is going to be an interesting team here. I would recommend you to give it a try. And I think that Zapdos is going to be an underrated Pokemon that does definitely way better than it looks here on paper. So next up, this is going to be more of a classic team. It's a team that's been used over the last few seasons as well, but I actually do argue that this team got a little bit weaker this season compared to the last season. You see already with a difficult matchup. Why this is the case? Because actually Ludicolo can be a bit of a trickier one for this team. Because we're going to have your Scizor, the Azumarill, as well as the Corsola. I just want to kind of showcase that Scizor is still existing. I feel like this Pokemon kind of disappeared quite a bit, but I still think it's a very, very solid Pokemon. And there are other alternatives that you can run in the back as well if you're going to encounter too many Pokemon here, like the Ludicolo. You can even run your own Ludicolo as your sales stop if you want to for this team. This would work out super well as well here. But generally speaking, I think it's going to be a great team. An alternative, by the way, as well in the back here, instead of the Corsola, would be something like a Jellicent, which would work out quite well. And even against like the bad matchups, Scizor can actually kind of go into the two-shield scenario and do quite well against those as well a lot of times. So I like this team quite a bit. I think that Scizor is a Pokemon that is fun to play if you're on the player side, but not so fun to play against because of the amount of damage this Pokemon actually does against you. This is a team that I want to really try out as well still. It's going to be Magcargo, the Gourgeist, as well as the Trevenant. Here are a ton of alternatives that you can run, by the way, for the closer as well. Trevenant is not needed here at all. Trevenant is a fun Pokemon, especially Shadow. I would actually recommend you the Shadow version of the Trevenant if you want to run it. The reason is that here the backline really helps out the Magcargo. Magcargo mainly being weak to ground, as well as water-type Pokemon, Fighting-type Pokemon, all of this is going to be resisted from your backline, and also against the other Pokemon you can offensively quite solid. As ground, water, and rock, all super effective against Magcargo, are all going to be weak against the grass typing that you have with your backline. And so this is actually a very cool combination, but what makes this team so interesting was the reason why I kind of want to try this team out especially, is that Magcargo and Gourgeist have an interesting combination between each other. Basically, you have a fire type in the lead that does of course fire type damage. Here, Ember, I'm not too sure if Ember is actually the best move. I could even see that the Incinerate is going to be better, but just generally has to be tried out for that to see which one's better. But basically, you have a fire type in the lead, and then you have a Scizor that has Incinerate damage as well, that isn't a fire type at all. So you can bait out those steel type Pokemon, you can bait out those ice type Pokemon. And that's kind of what I like about this team. I think this team would work out really, really well. I will give it a try, absolutely. So stay tuned for a video towards this team, because I think this is such a cool trap to have Gourgeist with Incinerate, with Magcargo in the lead, which is kind of already a perfect core, and now you make it even better with the season update this season. Alright, next one. What we're going to have here is a Bastiodon, we're going to have an Annihilate, we have a Ludicolo. I wanted to make a team around Bastiodon, because Bastiodon is one of those Pokemon that especially are easy to play for players who just start into the game. It is a very expensive Pokemon that you have to invest in, don't get me wrong, like it's not as easy to really get to this Pokemon, but when you have it, it's quite solid to play, easy to play. And as you can see here, the Bastiodon, Annihilate, Ludicolo is actually really, really nice. The only Pokemon that's actually a problem for this team is a Pokemon that's kind of on a downward trend anyway, which is like the Togekiss, but then again, also Bastion can smack this Pokemon down. The issue is that Togekiss, if it gets energy advantage, which it can get to your backline, it's going to go through your team. This is the one issue, but otherwise this team is going to be fantastic. And Annihilate is your Scizor, Ludicolo on the back, going to allow you to also kind of counter those ground type Pokemon especially, but also it's going to be still an answer to water type Pokemon, which is going to be fine. And actually you can use your Scizor depending on what you face in the lead. For example, if you're going to encounter something like a fighter in the lead, you maybe rather want to go into your Ludicolo as a Scizor instead of your Annihilate and keep your Annihilate healthy in the back. And this is kind of thing here. I think this team is very versatile, and I think it's a team that is fun to run and works quite well. And then you have also the Annihilate, which can utilize shields quite well with a counter right twist. So I think it's going to be a fun team to run. Team number 7. I want to have a team around Morpeko. Morpeko is one of the most fun Pokemon to run. This Pokemon can sweep entire teams if you play it correctly. And here we have a Talonflame, Credilli, Morpeko team. This is quite a common way of playing Morpeko. This is not creative by any means. I think this team itself, though, should work out quite well. And so I would recommend you to give it a try. We have the Talonflame lead. We have the Credilli, Scizor, and Morpeko on the closer position here. Basically, just try to set up Morpeko. You're going to have a lead that's going to be good against ground-type Pokemon. We have the Credilli, which is part rock, which maybe can bait out ground types, even though, of course, you're also part grass, which is going to be good against ground types. But you're mainly also a Pokemon that's weak to the fighting-type moves that you kind of want to avoid with your Morpeko. And also, Morpeko is going to be weak to the fairy typing, where you have the Talonflame, which is going to be able to resist that, but you also have Credilli with Acid that's going to do super effective damage against those. So you can bait out those fairies, still punish them, and kind of avoid them with your Morpeko. And this is how the team works, and this is why this team is actually kind of fantastic. One of the small weaknesses maybe for this team, depending on which situation you're in, could be Dragon-type Pokemon. I kind of want to point this out as well real quick. Dragon types can be a little bit tricky, but that's kind of it. And we can move on to team number 8. which is going to be Double Fighter. This is also, again, a fun team to run. There are different alternatives that you can use in the lead as well if you don't want to run Corviknight. Alternatives would be, for example, Steelix. With the Thunder Fang, you're going to be able to deal with those flying type Pokemon quite well as well. Alternative as well would be Carving. Alternative as well would be the Bastiodon. But with Corviknight, you're going to have an answer that is also defensively good against those ground type Pokemon, which are just with Mud Step quite dominant in the current meta. So that's why Corviknight is here as my main priority. But there are a lot of other Pokemon that you can give a try. They would work out quite well with this backline as well. With Primeape and Annihilate, you're going to of course need an answer in the lead though for Fairy type Pokemon, which kind of forces you to run a Steel type because it's kind of the only type that is very good against both Fairy as well as Flying. And so this is a team that should be quite alright. The weakness here for this team is mainly the Charger Bug, but for example, if you go for Steelix in the lead, you resist everything the Charger Bug can throw against you, and that's going to be then not an issue if you go for Bastion. It's the kind of same story there. So there are a lot of different alternatives that you can run as well that would help you out as well here, but Corviknight is an interesting choice, and again, it's for the viewers that actually listen to what I say. There are other alternatives you can run as well here. Next up is going to be a legend team from 2 seasons ago as far as I know, but I kind of want to showcase how strong the Pangoro actually is. This team seems to be a little bit weird, right? Because what is the answer to a Azumarill? And what is the answer generally to Fairy type Pokemon? Like the Denny. But then again, the Denny is gone. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of would like to look into this team here again. Because the Denny is gone. It's kind of the biggest weakness of this team was the Denny. As you have the Pangoro on the lead, the Googdra as your Scizor, and the Talonflame in the back, all were weak to the Denny. The Denny is completely gone right now from the meta. But Pangoro just completely shines so bright in this meta, like it's literally destroying everything. So like there's only the weakness of 2 Pokemon, Wichita, which if you face it in the lead, just go for a close combo with your Pangoro. That's your best bet, and just call it a day, and then try to align your Shadow Talonflame, which needs to be Shadow by the way. If it's Azumarill in the lead, swap Googdra. Googdra has access to Thunder Punch. Googdra is quite fast to get there, and there's no way that Azumarill is going to swap out of there. In the 2-shot scenario, Googdra is actually quite solid against the Azumarill, which makes it a very interesting matchup generally, and so that's why this team kind of works. I made a video like 2 seasons back though towards this team. I will make a video towards this very likely again as well. It's a team that's definitely on my list of Pokemon that teams that I want to run. Pangoro is amazing, Googdra is cool, the Talonflame is nice. I think it's just perfect together. So I think this is a team that's very good in the current meta, especially as Pangoro has a lot of play right now. We can move on to the final team here. We're going to have the team of Dunsparce, or I feel like actually Jellicent, now thinking about it, is a bit stronger. Jellicent has the benefit of being a ghost type, which is going to be kind of funny here because ghost types are weak to other ghost types where we have constant clutch, but also weak to dark type Pokemon where we have 2 fairy type Pokemon in the back. But mainly the idea here is to try to utilize your Ninetales as a safe swap here that is going to be able to bait out Pokemon that your Wigglytuff doesn't want to face, and still kind of can punish them because you have a lot of fast move and charge move pressure. Unless you're going to encounter a Steel type, you're going to be fine here as well. But generally speaking, I think the Dunsparce has a bit of an issue against some of the Pokemon that you are otherwise also weak to, like the Empoleon, while you're going to shine a little bit better here with the Jellicent. And so this is going to be it for the final team here. I think all of those teams are fun to run. You're going to see definitely a few of those as well as gameplay here on this channel. So definitely stay tuned, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you then.